It's loading right now. It takes time.
Okay, the meeting is now live streaming, so we're out on the internet for the world to see. I want to welcome everybody this afternoon to the Local Government and Bi-County Agency Subcommittee meeting. For the people who have come in at our invitation to sit in on this, who are not members of the subcommittee, I just want to let you know that we thank you for being here, and we're hoping that you will be available and that you've made yourselves available to answer questions from the subcommittee as we go forward. We have already had the public hearing, so we don't need to have everybody weighing in on the legislation again, but we do want to have you here in case members have questions about the pieces of legislation. I understand most of you, if not all of you, are here for one bill, and if you'd like to wait out in the waiting room until we finish with the other bill, that would be fine. We have one very local bill to deal with, should not take very long. And you can stay and listen, or you can go back to the waiting room as you choose. Just, wave your hand, or put something in the chat to let us know. Delegate Clark is here to answer questions about House Bill 528, which is the local St. Mary's County bill that we heard last week. And it's about changing their tax practices from one kind of tax to another. It's Commissioner County in Southern Maryland, and they need to come to us for all of those, all that kind of legislation. So is there any member of the committee has any questions about this legislation?
All the testimony was favorable. They asked for the change, so if no one has anything to say, I'd go ahead and make a motion to favorable.
I'll second.
Okay, very good. I will let you know before we vote that after the hearing, I got and the chairman of the committee got an email from NIOP, but in opposition. But we did check with St. Mary's County, and that amendment was considered and rejected by the local government. So that's all for your information as we go forward to vote. All those in favor of the bill as submitted by the delegation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it looks like it's unanimous. So thank you very much. Delegate Clark, looks like you're off the hook here.
Thank you. I'll see you folks on the screen tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now we can go to House Bill 109, which we discussed at quite a bit of length last time. And as I said at the meeting last time, I was hoping that we could vote on it today. So I think we'll start with, if anybody on the committee has any questions left over from our discussion last week.
Did we ever get Mako's response, or you said they were going to be on, or?
They did say they were going to have somebody on here, but that person's not here right now. It's Alex. Matt, why don't you answer?
Yes, so sorry to interrupt. Alex Butler from Mako should be available. I believe he said he was going to join. I also just a moment ago sent to all the subcommittee members a response that included Mako's position. Mako did not take an official position on the bill. However, he noted that there was some professionals at the county level that had some concerns. But that was mostly— At
some county is professionals who do what?
I'm just reading at this point from the response. Mako does not have a formal position on HB 109, although I understand that some professionals at the county level have concerns. And this should have been an email that everybody received.
Okay, look in your emails.
Was able to speak to some local code enforcers and environmental health directors, and the concerns seem to be on that construction versus operational side of the code. And there was an amendment that was considered about, let me pull up the language. I believe you all received this as well earlier today, where the Maryland Department of Health would continue to regulate the operation and maintenance of swimming pools and spas.
This is just for the construction part of it, right?
Yes.
Okay. It's like the building codes that we have for developments and so forth. Delegate Harrison, please.
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Matt, I don't have any of that documentation. I don't know where you sent it. If you could send it to my laptop email account,
Sure, I'll forward it all to your laptop email.
and that way I'll get it directly. That's one. Two, it seems as though I've had a couple of conversations. It seems as though there may have been some confusion between operations and construction. I don't know if anyone else seemed to get that same, seem to have the same thing. It seems like, at least with those who were opponents, maybe there was some concern or confusion as to whether or not we're talking about maintenance, operation and maintenance, or construction. And I guess under maintenance, if it's a major maintenance overhaul, then they would have to come up to code. But if it's just, replacing, one pump for another, then it would not be, that would not be considered maintenance. And then the other issue seemed to be with, I just lost my train of thought. So since I lost my train of thought, I'm going to stop. And if I think of it again, I'll mention it. But yeah, I know what it was, that some counties, I guess, may already have more stringent health codes for this than perhaps what Comar has. And I know that there is a place in the bill that says that counties may not have, or I should say departments may not have a more strict code than what's in Comar. So those were the two things, and I don't know if there's anyone who wants to speak to that or if we're okay.
Okay, so Matt, can you just address those couple things just to see if we just get clarity what you've looked at?
So I did review Comar, the currently existing Comar provisions, and I'll note that in the current Comar provisions, in terms of construction and permitting, there are already references to another national code, which I understand may be an outdated code or one that may not be updated regularly. There are also additional permitting requirements that the locals could place, and those place on the design development of public pools, and those permits must be obtained before any operational or permits would be received from the Department of the Environment. I will be honest, I was trying to make sure that you received these documents, Delegate Harrison, so I was listening to the question. I might have to ask that you repeat if I'm not answering your question exactly. But there's...
You're muted. Delegate Harrison, you're muted. Can you unmute her? Can you
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, Matt, all I was saying was that there seemed to be some confusion as to whether we're talking about operations and maintenance or construction, or and what constitutes major construction or major rehab. Because my understanding is that a major rehab then would have to, come up to a code as opposed to just replacing a water pump, or I don't know all of the parts of a pool, but a water pump, that's not considered major, and then it would not fall under this. The other piece that I said was that it seems as though perhaps there are some counties that already have adopted more stringent codes than for their particular areas than what is in the state code. And in this particular bill, there's a section that says that a department, meaning, your local health department, may not adopt a more stringent requirement or code than what is in Comar. And so those were the two things that I was speaking.
So then to answer those questions, I'll start just with your first. There was an amendment about defining additions, alterations, and repairs as stated in the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code. And that relates back to an applicability section that had this idea of a more minor alteration or repair not having to come up to the standards in the ISPSC, and a more major repair or an addition having to meet the new standards for that component. So if it were the filtration system component, it would need to meet and it was a complete replacement. And I will defer to individuals from the ISPSC if I'm missing something here, that in terms of the actual application, the use of the code. If it would be a total replacement of the system or adding a new or expanding onto a pool, that would certainly have to rise to the height of the new standard of the ISPSC. If it were making a typical replacement to the decking, there was a crack or something, I would imagine that would be a more minor fix. Your second question about counties being preempted from having more stringent standards, a county could have a more stringent standard even under the bill. The language with reference to the department was the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor couldn't adopt a standard that's more stringent than a requirement in the ISPSC.
Okay, thank you.
But there is actually a whole below that, or there's a whole provision, a whole process by which locals could do more.
Okay.
Mhm.
Can I comment on Mako's?
Oh, sure. Thank you. And then we'll go to the people that have raised their hands. Okay.
All right, so when I
Or
read
the witnesses.
their email, it says from a code enforcement officer, in past adoptions of the International Building Code and International Residential Code that make up the Maryland Building Performance Standards, included provisions for swimming pools within the text of the documents. The ICC is the association that maintains the development of codes that are adopted by jurisdictions on a 3-year basis. Agree. ICC has been working on a swimming pool standard that has developed into the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code. For the 2018 code cycle, the code development process removed the specific provisions from the International Building Code and International Residential Code and opted by reference, incorporated the ISPSC. This means that for Maryland, the state is already required to adopt the International Building Code as part of the Maryland Building Performance Standards. By doing so, should the state not make any modifications to Section 3109 of the International Building Code, the ISPSC, the International Standard for Pools and Spas Code, is automatically incorporated as part of the Maryland Building Performance Standard. So if that statement is true, hasn't Maryland already adopted the ISPSC?
So this of course just came to me. I don't know if I can speak intelligently to that right now. However,
I think that maybe somebody from the advocates groups from the industry might be able to answer that. But my understanding was that this bill was really mostly about adding standards for residential pools and private homes and so forth.
Yeah, but that's the ISPSC. That's the code. And according to Mako, Maryland has already essentially adopted that code.
Through regulations?
Based on what I just read.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask Mr. Davidson, who has his hand raised, if he would, can you weigh in on this and explain it to us?
I'm actually going to defer this to Justin and Sean. They can speak on that particular question. They can speak a little more on that. But I would like to say about Mako, we spoke with Mako. Actually, we were very proactive in reaching out to them going back to December and January. They did not, I was actually pestering them. They did not explain any concerns that they had. They said they had no position. They were not.
Yeah,
They-
they
said they
didn't take a
have no official
position on it
position.
today.
They
They're
also
just
have no
providing this
position.
information.
Yeah, this is just information, not position of the organization. Okay, so go ahead then, Mr. Wiley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so currently the building code and the residential code do reference the ISPSC. However, there are several jurisdictions that amend out those particular provisions and reference older swimming pool and spa provisions from outdated codes. That's the first thing on residential. Secondly, the Department of Health does not recognize currently the ISPSC in their design and construction standards. So this would harmonize this. This would carry through those, not only at the Department of Health level, but also at the local counties in the building codes for the swimming pool and spas. And Sean, I don't know if you have anything to add to that from the technical side.
Yeah, the only thing that I'll point out is again, based upon, since we're referencing the Maryland Building Performance Standards, which model the legislation here in Maryland for the adoption of the IBC and IRC, it's not real clear that those references within those codes themselves must be adopted. Where here with this bill, it would be required to use the ISPSC for any swimming pool, spa related regulation. So I think that makes it a much clearer path and less conflicting than what is currently in the Maryland Building Performance Standard.
Okay, any other questions? Delegate Harrison.
I keep losing my cursor, I'm sorry. So just for my clarification then, with this bill, what we're seeking to do is to bring into harmony the Department of Labor and the Health Department's construction standards and apply them to both commercial and private pools. Is that a good summary?
I think so.
Yes, Delegate.
Okay. Is
Thank
there a motion? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You have something else to say?
Nope, thank you.
Move approval.
But there are the amendments.
Okay, we have
in
a
the bill.
motion. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I just wanted to note there were the amendments on the bill.
Oh, are there
So you have to
amendments?
do amendments and then
Okay, what do the amendments do?
the amendments. Sorry, we had. Let me pull it up again. So the amendments would include the references to the department defining additions, alterations, repairs as stated in the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code standard. And then also would require, would note that the subtitle does not alter or abrogate the authority of the Department of Health to regulate operation and maintenance of swimming pools and spas. And then in terms of the adoption of the standards themselves, the ISPSC would require that the department, before adopting each version of the standards, consult with the Maryland Department of Health on the effect of the proposed changes on health and safety.
Okay, is there a motion on the amendments?
Move approval.
Second on the amendments?
I'll second, but now I've gotten confused again.
Okay, we'll have discussion on the amendments. Go ahead, Delegate.
So I really thought that what we're talking about mostly is the construction as opposed to operation and maintenance. But with this amendment, we're talking about consulting with the Department for Operation and Maintenance. And so I'm a little unclear again, because I thought we were really just talking about unless it was a major
Correct. I think that was what the point of the amendment was to clarify that.
Yes. My understanding with the amendment was that it was intended to keep it clear that the changes being discussed here are only those standards that relate to construction and design, and that operational measures, safety measures related to pools. The operation and maintenance of pools would still be regulated wholly by the Department of Health. Of course, construction has some role, some play in terms of safety of the product. So there would be a time where the Department of Labor, before adoption of the construction standards, would consult with the Maryland Department of Health on the effect of any proposed changes to the ISPSC with regard to health and safety.
So that's the harmonizing part.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at the updated piece with the amendments in it, and it seems to make it a little bit more clear. So thank you.
Yeah, it's just clear.
Okay,
Okay.
we have a second on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, on the bill as amended.
Move approval of the bill as amended.
I'll second.
Second, okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm going to vote no. And let me explain that. So as you know, the last meeting we had, I was really not clear on this bill at all. So I sent it to my locals, the county
Mhm.
commissioners and the Board of Health. And 4 of the 6 that responded, all of them were not in favor of it. So I'm going to vote to support them by opposing the bill.
All right, so it's still a majority of the committee, correct?
Yes.
Even though Delegate Jalisi is not here, it's fine. So I think we're finished with today's agenda. This will be before the full committee next voting session.
All right.
All righty, thank you.
All right.
Thank you all
Thank you,
very much for
everyone.
coming.
See you
All
tomorrow.
righty.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.